Have you ever made a decision you regretted just because you were emotional in the moment? Maybe you snapped at someone, spent money impulsively, or let fear stop you from taking a risk, only to realize later that you weren't thinking clearly. Here's the truth. If you don't control your emotions, someone else will. And in today's world where attention is currency, emotional control isn't just a self-help cliché. It's financial armor. The average person makes over 35,000 decisions every day. Most of them are automatic, but the dangerous ones, the ones that drain your wallet, damage your relationships, or sabotage your goals, are fueled by one thing: unregulated emotion. If you've ever bought something to feel better, ghosted an opportunity out of anxiety, or let jealousy guide your next move, congratulations, you've been emotionally hijacked. The worst part? Most people don't even realize it. They're stuck in a loop, reacting, regretting, repeating. There's a massive myth people believe. I'm just emotional. That's who I am. Wrong. Emotions are not your identity. They're signals, like notifications. You wouldn't let your phone control your life just because it buzzes, right? So why let your feelings dictate your behavior? Emotional control isn't suppression, it's mastery. And once you understand that, you unlock a superpower 99% of people never tap into. You're the captain of a ship, your life. Emotions are the waves. Some days they're calm, other days they're crashing over the sides, threatening to pull you under. Most people? They throw away the wheel the moment a storm hits, panic, react, sink. But the elite, the emotionally intelligent, they grip the wheel tighter. They read the waves. They use the wind to steer. That's the difference between people who drift through life and people who dominate it. Now let's give you the tools to grab the wheel firmly. 1. Understanding your emotions. The first step to control. Before you can control your emotions, you have to fully understand them. Emotions are not just random reactions, they are signals from your brain trying to tell you something. For example, when you feel angry, it's your brain's way of saying that something isn't right in your environment. It could be a financial loss, a bad business deal, or someone not respecting your time. Emotions like fear often arise when you're facing something uncertain, like an upcoming financial decision or an unfamiliar market trend. These emotions come from your brain's survival mechanisms, but in today's world, we often face situations where these mechanisms can lead to irrational decisions. Understanding emotions is more than just identifying what you feel. It's also about recognizing why you feel that way. Emotions are rooted in past experiences, biological instincts, and current stressors. The first step in controlling your emotions is awareness. When you can identify what's happening in your mind and body, you take the power away from those emotions. You stop being the passenger in your own mind and instead become the driver, making conscious decisions based on logic rather than gut reactions. If you don't understand the emotion, it controls you. People who can identify emotions tend to be better at managing them. For instance, recognizing that fear in a business meeting comes from the pressure to perform can help you step back and think, okay, it's fear, but it doesn't have to dictate how I act. From there, you can make a more calculated decision instead of reacting impulsively. Self-awareness doesn't come overnight. It takes practice. Regular reflection and mindfulness exercises can help you sharpen this skill over time. By regularly checking in with yourself emotionally, you become more adept at catching emotions before they spiral out of control. Being emotionally intelligent involves not just recognizing emotions in yourself, but also understanding their triggers. For example, knowing that certain financial risks make you anxious allows you to plan accordingly. You can prepare yourself mentally, setting a strategy for when those emotions arise. This is essential in business. When you're under pressure, your emotional response will determine your next move. Are you going to panic and make rash decisions, or will you pause, breathe, and make a calculated choice? In summary, understanding your emotions is the foundation of emotional control. By recognizing what you feel, why you feel it, and how it impacts your behavior, you put yourself in the driver's seat of your emotional landscape, preventing others or your circumstances from taking control. 2. The power of pausing, interrupting emotional impulses. One of the most effective tools for controlling your emotions is learning to pause. When emotions run high, the immediate impulse is to act. But acting in the heat of the moment can lead to regret. It's easy to let a burst of anger or excitement drive you into decisions that don't serve you. Pausing breaks that cycle. Think of it as creating a moment of stillness between stimulus and response. This moment allows your brain to engage rational thought instead of instinctive reaction. This principle applies in every situation, whether in business or personal life. In a financial decision, for example, if you're presented with a sudden investment opportunity, your initial instinct might be excitement. Your emotions scream, "Jump on this opportunity." But if you pause, take a breath, think it through, and analyze the details, you might notice that the deal isn't as solid as it appeared. By pausing, you are giving yourself the time to analyze the situation, check for red flags, and avoid rushing into something that's emotionally driven. The pause is a practice used by some of the most successful entrepreneurs and investors. They've learned that the most valuable decisions are often made with patience. The pause allows you to ground yourself in reality, separate from the emotional impulses that might distort your judgment. It's not about denying your emotions, it's about giving them time to settle so you can think more clearly. In challenging situations, especially those that involve financial stakes, pausing can save you from reacting impulsively. This technique helps you avoid letting panic or fear, for instance, make a decision that later feels hasty. A key part of pausing is also learning to breathe deeply. This physical action can trigger the body's relaxation response, which reduces the intensity of emotional reactions. With regular practice, the pause becomes second nature. It no longer feels like a forced break, but a natural part of your decision-making process. So when emotions rise, instead of acting on impulse, remember that pausing is your superpower. It's not about stalling. It's about gaining control of your emotions and using that time to choose the most rational course of action. 3. Reframing negative emotions, turning setbacks into opportunities. A huge part of controlling your emotions is learning how to reframe negative emotions. Reframing involves changing how you perceive a situation to alter your emotional response. Take a financial setback, for example, losing money on an investment. It's easy to feel like a failure and let emotions like shame or frustration take over. However, reframing that loss can shift your perspective entirely. Instead of focusing on the loss, you can focus on the lesson. What can I learn from this? What's the opportunity in this mistake? Reframing is about changing the narrative you tell yourself about the situation. A failed business venture isn't just a failure. It's a valuable learning experience that can inform future decisions. When you start seeing setbacks as learning opportunities, you gain emotional strength. Instead of letting frustration or embarrassment control you, you empower yourself to grow and adapt. This process helps you detach your self-worth from your circumstances. You stop viewing setbacks as a reflection of your abilities, and instead you see them as stepping stones toward success. In a financial context, reframing can prevent you from making emotionally driven decisions that compound mistakes. If you've made a poor investment, the emotional fallout can tempt you to make even riskier moves to recover quickly. Reframing this situation allows you to take a breath, step back, and approach the next decision more wisely. You realize that mistakes are part of the journey, and they do not define your ability to succeed. This technique isn't just about positive thinking, it's about strategic thinking. You're not ignoring reality, you're just choosing to interpret it in a way that serves you better. Whether it's a business deal gone wrong or a financial loss, when you reframe negative emotions, you move from victimhood to empowerment. This emotional shift makes it easier to think clearly, make better choices, and avoid emotionally driven mistakes. Reframing is also about how you respond to criticism. In business especially, you will face people who disagree with you or point out mistakes. Instead of becoming defensive, reframe the criticism as constructive feedback. This way, you take the emotional sting out of the situation and focus on how it can help you improve. 4. Emotional regulation, developing healthy coping mechanisms. While understanding and reframing emotions are essential, it's equally important to have effective emotional regulation strategies. Emotional regulation refers to the ability to manage and change your emotional state in a healthy way. For instance, when you're feeling overwhelmed by stress or anxiety, whether from a financial loss or a tough market condition, knowing how to regulate those feelings can make all the difference. The first step in emotional regulation is recognizing when your emotions are becoming too intense. This might manifest as physical signs like increased heart rate, shallow breathing, or muscle tension. Once you notice these signals, you can engage in strategies to calm your emotions down. Deep breathing exercises are one of the simplest but most effective ways to regulate your emotions. By focusing on your breath, you send a signal to your brain that it's time to calm down. This allows you to take control of the emotional storm before it escalates. Another regulation strategy is mindfulness. By staying present and focusing on the here and now, you prevent yourself from getting lost in worry or anger about the past or future. For instance, if you're in a heated negotiation and emotions start running high, you can take a moment to center yourself. You might close your eyes for a few seconds, breathe deeply, and focus on the task at hand. This pause and shift in attention allow you to manage your emotional state and prevent impulsive reactions. Exercise is another excellent way to regulate emotions. Physical activity releases endorphins, the body's natural mood elevators. Regular exercise can help you maintain a more balanced emotional state in general, making it easier to cope with stress or setbacks in your personal or financial life. Whether it's a quick walk or a full workout, physical movement helps reset your emotional state, clearing your mind for better decision-making. Lastly, building a strong support system is crucial for emotional regulation. Surround yourself with people who can provide a calming influence when emotions run high. Whether it's a mentor, a colleague, or a friend, having someone to talk to can help you process emotions and gain perspective. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about managing them in a way that prevents them from hijacking your decisions. 5. Developing emotional resilience, bouncing back from setbacks. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back after facing adversity. It's a key trait of those who succeed in business and finance. Resilience doesn't mean that you won't experience emotions like frustration or sadness when things go wrong. Instead, it means that you have the ability to recover from these emotions and stay focused on your long-term goals. Resilient people see setbacks as temporary and surmountable. When they face a financial crisis or a failed investment, they don't dwell on the negative emotions. Instead, they focus on how to move forward. They understand that every setback is an opportunity to become stronger and more knowledgeable. Resilience allows you to weather the emotional storm and return to your mission with renewed energy and insight. Building emotional resilience starts with cultivating a growth mindset. Instead of seeing failure as something permanent, resilient individuals view challenges as learning experiences. They are always looking for ways to improve and adjust their strategies. Resilience also involves maintaining a sense of purpose. When you have a strong sense of why you're doing something, whether it's financial freedom, business success, or personal growth, you're more likely to stay focused and persevere in the face of adversity. 6. Mind over mood, the role of cognitive behavioral techniques. When it comes to controlling emotions, one powerful approach is cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy teaches you that your thoughts influence your feelings and your feelings influence your actions. This cyclical relationship means that by controlling your thoughts, you can control your emotional responses. This technique is particularly useful in business and finance, where the pressure to make quick decisions can cause emotions to spike. For example, if you're feeling anxious about a stock market drop, instead of letting that anxiety take over and influence your decision to sell prematurely, cognitive behavioral therapy encourages you to challenge that fear. You ask yourself, well, what evidence do I have that things will continue to decline? Is there data supporting this fear, or is it just my anxiety speaking? By questioning the thoughts that fuel your emotions, you can shift your mindset from panic to rational analysis. This mental shift helps you gain perspective, take a step back, and make decisions from a place of logic rather than fear. Cognitive behavioral therapy also involves reframing negative thoughts. If you have a habit of thinking, "I always mess up my investments," you can reframe that into, "I've made mistakes before, but each time I've learned something valuable that makes me better at investing." By challenging your thought patterns, you can reduce the intensity of your negative emotions. The key is to identify automatic negative thoughts and replace them with more balanced and realistic perspectives. This technique is particularly helpful for anyone who struggles with emotional dysregulation. It allows you to take control of your mind rather than letting your emotions control you. It's important to note that cognitive behavioral therapy takes practice and persistence. It's not a one-time fix, but an ongoing strategy for managing emotional responses. 7. Emotional detachment. Protecting your financial decisions. Emotional detachment is a concept that's especially valuable in the context of finance and business. It's about learning to separate your emotions from your financial decisions. This doesn't mean being cold or unfeeling, rather it means not letting emotional reactions cloud your judgment. Emotional detachment allows you to make decisions based on facts and strategy rather than fear, greed, or anger. For instance, during a market crash, it's easy to panic and sell off all your investments at a loss. That emotional reaction might feel like the safest choice in the moment, but it's often the worst decision for long-term financial success. Emotional detachment helps you step back and ask yourself, is this decision based on facts, or am I acting out of fear? This level of emotional awareness helps you stay calm, think clearly, and avoid rash decisions that you'll later regret. Emotional detachment can also help when dealing with clients or business partners. Business is often about relationships, and sometimes those relationships become tense. If you allow your emotions to dictate your interactions, you risk making decisions that are driven by frustration or impatience. By emotionally detaching from the situation, you can engage more professionally, focusing on the facts and working toward solutions rather than letting personal feelings dictate your behavior. Detachment is a skill that can be learned through mindfulness and emotional regulation. By practicing techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or simply taking a step back from a situation, you can train yourself to remain calm in high-pressure moments. When you detach from the emotional chaos of a situation, you allow yourself the clarity to make better financial decisions and negotiate more effectively. 8. Building emotional intelligence, the key to better relationships. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotions of others. In business, emotional intelligence is a game changer. It allows you to read situations, understand people's motivations, and respond appropriately. Whether you're negotiating a deal, managing a team, or interacting with clients, a high EQ enables you to communicate effectively and build stronger relationships. One key component of EQ is empathy, the ability to understand what others are feeling. In a business context, empathy helps you gauge how a potential partner might react to an offer or how your team is responding to a new change in strategy. By understanding their emotional state, you can tailor your approach to create a more productive, harmonious interaction. For example, if you're presenting a new financial strategy to your team and sense that they're feeling overwhelmed, you might adjust your approach, offering more reassurance and breaking things down into smaller, more manageable steps. Emotional intelligence also helps with self-regulation. People with high EQ are better at managing their own emotional responses. If someone criticizes your idea or challenges your financial decision, you're less likely to react defensively or emotionally. Instead, you're able to process the criticism objectively and use it as an opportunity for growth. By continuously working on your emotional intelligence, you improve not only your professional relationships but your personal ones as well. Better emotional management leads to more effective communication, stronger trust, and fewer conflicts, all of which contribute to long-term success. 9. The role of self-compassion in emotional control. Self-compassion is often overlooked when discussing emotional control, but it plays a crucial role. When you make mistakes, whether in life, business, or finance, it's easy to fall into self-criticism. However, this kind of negative self-talk only exacerbates negative emotions and hinders your ability to learn and grow. Self-compassion, on the other hand, encourages you to treat yourself with kindness and understanding when things go wrong. Instead of berating yourself for making a poor investment or mishandling a business opportunity, self-compassion allows you to acknowledge the mistake without judgment. You might say to yourself, "I made an error, but that's okay. What can I learn from this so I don't make the same mistake again?" By practicing self-compassion, you reduce the emotional intensity of failure, enabling you to move forward with more clarity and less emotional baggage. Self-compassion also helps you maintain your emotional equilibrium during difficult times. When you're feeling overwhelmed or defeated, treating yourself with kindness helps to buffer the impact of negative emotions. This mindset shift enables you to stay grounded, preventing your emotions from spiraling out of control and affecting your decision-making. In finance, where mistakes can be costly, practicing self-compassion helps you bounce back more quickly. Instead of being consumed by regret or guilt, you focus on solutions, which leads to better financial outcomes. Remember, mistakes are part of growth, both financially and emotionally. 10. The power of visualization, creating emotional balance. Visualization is a powerful tool for emotional control. It involves imagining yourself successfully navigating stressful situations before they happen. In the context of business and finance, you can use visualization to mentally rehearse high-pressure scenarios like an important negotiation or a crucial investment decision. When you visualize yourself succeeding in these situations, your brain begins to wire itself for success. You feel more prepared, confident, and calm when the real situation arises. Visualization doesn't just prepare you mentally, it also affects your emotions. When you visualize success, you're less likely to feel anxious or fearful because you've already mentally practiced the scenario. This technique is often used by top athletes, and it's just as effective in the world of business. For example, before a financial meeting where you're pitching an investment idea, you can take a moment to visualize yourself speaking confidently, answering tough questions with ease, and securing the deal. This mental preparation reduces anxiety and sets the stage for a positive emotional experience during the real meeting. Visualization is also useful when it comes to overcoming negative emotions. If you're feeling overwhelmed by stress, you can visualize a calm, peaceful environment. This helps to reduce the intensity of negative emotions and bring your body back into a relaxed state. By regularly using visualization techniques, you can train your brain to remain calm and focused even in stressful situations. 11. Using positive affirmations to reframe your emotional state. One of the most effective ways to manage your emotions is by using positive affirmations. These are simple positive statements that help you reframe your thoughts and emotional responses. Affirmations have the power to alter your mindset, shifting it from negative self-defeating thoughts to ones that are more empowering. In finance and business, where stress, uncertainty, and setbacks are frequent, affirmations can keep you grounded and focused on your goals. For example, if you're feeling anxious about a financial decision, you might say to yourself, "I am capable of making wise and informed choices," or "I trust my ability to learn and grow from any challenges I face." These affirmations reprogram your subconscious mind, helping you build confidence and diminish fear. Over time, they become a powerful tool to stabilize your emotions during high-pressure moments. The key to affirmations is consistency. Repeating positive statements regularly, especially when you're feeling vulnerable or uncertain, helps to reinforce a calm, confident emotional state. When emotions like fear or anxiety arise, positive affirmations can serve as an anchor, redirecting your energy into a more constructive and focused mindset. It's important to believe in the affirmations you use. If you don't genuinely feel connected to the words, the affirmations might feel like empty statements. But as you start seeing the benefits of practicing them, more control over your emotions and better decision-making, they begin to work. Affirmations are particularly useful when faced with negative emotions, such as regret after a financial loss or frustration during a negotiation. By affirming your ability to overcome challenges, you reduce the emotional impact of those setbacks. In essence, positive affirmations are a proactive way to ensure your emotional state remains balanced. They help you reinforce the belief that you are in control of your emotions, and in turn, they allow you to make decisions from a place of confidence and clarity rather than fear or doubt. 12. The importance of self-care. Maintaining emotional balance. You cannot effectively control your emotions if you are physically and mentally exhausted. Self-care is crucial for emotional regulation, especially when dealing with high-stress situations like business negotiations or investment decisions. Without proper self-care, your emotional reserves are depleted, making it much harder to handle stress in a healthy way. Self-care involves more than just physical health. It includes mental and emotional well-being as well. In business, where the pressure to perform is constant, taking time to rest, exercise, and nourish your body is essential. Physical health is directly tied to emotional balance. When you feel tired, hungry, or overworked, your emotional resilience diminishes. Simple acts like getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and staying active can drastically improve your mood and mental clarity. Mental self-care, on the other hand, includes activities that promote relaxation and mental rejuvenation, like meditation, reading, or spending time with loved ones. It's important to regularly disconnect from work and allow your mind to reset. If you constantly push yourself without taking time to recharge, you'll likely become overwhelmed by your emotions during challenging times. For instance, if you're feeling overwhelmed by a financial crisis, taking a walk or meditating for a few minutes can help you regain focus and clear your mind. Self-care also helps prevent burnout, which can cause emotional instability. If you're always working without taking breaks, you're more prone to emotional exhaustion, which makes it much harder to stay emotionally balanced. By making self-care a priority, you ensure that you have the energy and clarity to manage your emotions effectively, even during the most stressful times. In short, self-care is an investment in your emotional well-being. It replenishes your mental and emotional resources, making it easier to handle the ups and downs of business, finance, and life without getting overwhelmed. 13. Setting boundaries. Protecting your emotional energy. Another powerful way to manage your emotions is by setting boundaries. In both personal and professional life, you can encounter situations or people that drain your emotional energy. Learning to say no or set limits on what you're willing to tolerate is essential for protecting your emotional health. For example, if you're constantly getting phone calls or messages from work late into the evening, it can be emotionally exhausting. Setting a boundary, like only responding to work-related matters during business hours, helps you reclaim your emotional energy. Boundaries help you create a space where you can recharge and focus on other aspects of life that nourish your well-being. Boundaries are also essential in business relationships. In negotiations or collaborations, it's important to assert your needs and limitations. For instance, if a business partner is pushing you to take on more risk than you're comfortable with, being clear about your limits protects you from emotional stress and poor decisions. If you don't set clear boundaries, you risk compromising your values or making decisions that harm your emotional state. Setting boundaries isn't about being rigid. It's about creating a balance that allows you to thrive emotionally while still being productive and engaged. Learning to set boundaries takes practice, especially if you're someone who tends to put others' needs ahead of your own. However, by consistently enforcing your boundaries, you protect yourself from emotional burnout and prevent others from taking advantage of your time and energy. 14. The role of patience in emotional mastery. Patience is a crucial component of emotional control. In today's fast-paced world, we often expect quick results, whether it's in business, investments, or personal goals. However, emotional mastery requires the ability to remain patient, especially when things don't go as planned. When faced with setbacks, it's easy to become frustrated or disheartened. However, practicing patience allows you to accept that things take time. Whether you're dealing with a slow financial recovery or a long-term business project, patience enables you to remain calm, focused, and strategic. Instead of rushing into decisions out of impatience, you allow yourself the time to think things through and make the best possible choice. In the business world, patience is often rewarded with greater success. Investors who are patient, for example, tend to see better returns over time compared to those who panic and make rash decisions based on short-term market fluctuations. Patience also helps you build strong, lasting relationships. Instead of rushing to close deals, being patient allows you to build trust and rapport with business partners, leading to more sustainable success. Patience also helps you develop resilience. In moments of emotional distress, patience allows you to ride out the storm, knowing that you'll eventually come out on the other side stronger. It's about understanding that growth, whether personal or financial, is a process that takes time, and that setbacks are part of the journey. 15. Learning from emotional setbacks. Growth through reflection. The final step to mastering emotional control is learning from your emotional setbacks. Everyone faces moments when emotions get the best of them. Maybe you made a rash financial decision or let anger cloud your judgment during a business meeting. Instead of beating yourself up, use those moments as learning opportunities. Reflect on what triggered your emotional response and why it happened. Was it a lack of preparation, a miscalculation of risk, or maybe a situation where you didn't manage your stress properly? By understanding the root cause of your emotional reaction, you can take steps to avoid repeating the same mistake in the future. Reflection is a powerful tool for emotional growth. When you take time to examine your emotional responses, you gain insight into your triggers, habits, and patterns. This self-awareness helps you identify areas where you need to improve, and with each setback, you become better equipped to handle future emotional challenges. In business and finance, emotional setbacks can often be turned into valuable lessons. Successful entrepreneurs and investors often credit their mistakes and emotional experiences as the fuel for their growth. By learning to view setbacks not as failures but as lessons in emotional mastery, you turn every emotional challenge into an opportunity for personal development. Some of the most successful people on the planet, from Warren Buffett to Oprah, attribute their results not to superior intelligence but superior emotional discipline. Buffett even said, "If you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control your money." Studies back this up. Emotional intelligence is a better predictor of long-term success than IQ, GPA, or even raw talent. It's the hidden edge behind great leaders, wealthy entrepreneurs, and high performers. You have two options. Keep being a slave to your emotions, reacting, regretting, and repeating. Or start leading your life with clarity, composure, and control. Start small. Pick one of the strategies you heard today and practice it this week. Then another, then another. Because here's the truth. If you don't run your emotions, someone else will. And in a world that profits off your reactions, controlling your emotions isn't just powerful, it's profit.